Halloween's finest trick-or-treaters.
Hey everybody, welcome to Always Bored Never Boring. Here at Always Bored Never Boring HQ, we are deep in the heart of our festivities, and as we continue to drift through this unusual gap between Turkey Day and New Year, eating quality streets for breakfast and trying to stay awake through Home Alone, I thought I had time for just one more video about Christmas before we all wave bye-bye to the most wonderful time of the year and turn our attention to making resolutions we have no intention of keeping. So today, in my final video of 2023, we are going to talk about one of the best things about Christmas: the nightmare before. If you've been following the channel for a little while, you will probably know I quite enjoy FunkoVerse, the mix and match skirmish game from Funko Games. I've talked about it a few times recently. Well, for Christmas my lovely family bought me something new for the FunkoVerse game series, something which I only recently discovered existed. It was this, the Lock, Shock and Barrel expansion. This came out in 2023, which I was actually a little surprised about because I honestly thought the FunkoVerse had been wound down and we wouldn't be seeing any more packs for it. This particular pack is also slightly unusual because FunkoVerse sets normally work as standalone products. You get either 2 or 4 characters with maps, cards, tokens and everything else necessary to play. But to use the Lock, Shock and Barrel expansion, you must have at least one of the FunkoVerse Strategy Game sets. As you can see, the pack contains Boogie's Boys, Halloween's finest trick-or-treaters, and this is the standard edition release. 1 in 4 of the sets is a chaser. If you watched my video on FunkoVerse Duels, you will know I have the rare chase edition of that set. It features the shark with blood splatters on its mouth, as opposed to not having blood splatters. For this Nightmare Before Christmas expansion, the chase edition has a more elaborate difference. Each of Boogie's Boys are represented without their masks, so you can see their true faces. While I think that's a nice change, something a bit more interesting for collectors, I personally prefer the masked version and I have no intentions of hunting down a chase set for myself. I mean, Barrel is just too darn cute wearing his skull mask. The intention of this expansion is you can use it in 2 different ways. You can either field Lock, Shock and Barrel as a single figure, stacked together, or you can separate them out onto bases and field them as companions. Again, I think this might be a concept exclusive to this pack. I don't recall any other FunkoVerse set doing anything like it. In order to field the trick-or-treaters as a figure or as companions, the pack includes 4 bases, all the necessary character cards, a status card, 3 ability tokens, 6 plastic point tokens, and the instructions. Stacked together, Lock, Shock and Barrel are a fun addition to a team. They don't have any defense, but should they be knocked down, instead you remove the top trick-or-treater from the stack. Once you remove the last model from the stack, they are immediately knocked out, restacked and placed on the one spot of the cooldown track, ready to return to the fray. They have 3 special abilities, some of which are affected by the number of models in the stack. Blow him up to smithereens is a challenge 1 action. Challenge is the term used in this game for an attack, but you increase the challenge by 1 for each model in the stack, letting you roll up to 4 dice at once. Tie him in a bag lets the tricksters move 1 space and then give an adjacent rival the bagged status card, which prevents the target from moving. However, that character can place an ability token on the 4 space of the cooldown track to free themselves from the bag and discard the card. The Trick or Treat ability lets Lock, Shock and Barrel move 1, but the move is increased by 1 for each model that has been removed from the stack. It also lets them do an interact action. This is a really good ability for scarpering out of danger once your character has soaked some attacks, or covering a large distance in order to interact with an objective. If you choose to break up the stack, you have 3 new companions to play with. Companions are a unique form of attachment. Rather than being weapons or items that one of your characters has equipped, they are little friends. The rules state that if one team wants to use attachments, all other teams must have the same number of attachments, and that means if you want to field Lock, Shock and Barrel all at the same time, your opponent would also need 3 attachments or companions. The companions are placed during game setup and follow most of the rules that are applicable to regular characters, except they only get 1 action, which has to be one of the actions listed on their companion card. They can take this 1 action before, between or after the 2 actions of the character they are attached to. Additionally, a character with a companion can do a Use Attachment Companion action, which will grant the companion an extra action of their own. Again, that action can only be one listed on the companion's card. Companions can be very useful, but their limited range of actions means there are lots of things they can't do. Lock can either move 2, or he can make an interact action. If the character he is attached to makes the use attachment companion action, then Locke gets 2 bonus actions instead of 1, but again, he can still only move or interact. Shock can move 4, or she can use her slingshot to make a range 3 challenge using 3 dice. Unfortunately, the character she is attached to is not allowed to use the use attachment companion action, which means Shock can never make more than 1 action per turn. Barrel is a fighty little boy. He can move 2 or make a challenge using 3 dice. He can also help other characters, adding 1 to the challenge value of an ally who challenges a rival adjacent to Barrel. I think they are all good in their own right, but I think Barrel is my favourite. Shock has an excellent ranged attack but is severely restricted as she only gets 1 action per turn. Locke is very nimble, but he can't make challenges at all. What I really like about this set is it works well with the existing Nightmare Before Christmas set, which probably goes without saying. That set includes 4 characters, 1 attachment, Fog Juice, and 1 companion, Zero. If you introduce Locke, Shock and Barrel as companions, then you have a total of 4 characters and 5 attachments, enough for 4 players, each with 1 character and 1 attachment. However, I do think this expansion could have been even better with just a few modifications. Firstly, it really could have included another character. That way, when combined with the existing Nightmare Before Christmas set, you would have enough for 2 teams of 3 characters. My vote would have been for the Mayor, a suitable rival for Boogie's boys who intimidate him in the movie. Secondly, rather than having the characters stack, which is a little odd, I would have loved to have seen the inclusion of their walking bathtub. It would have been so fun if when fielded as a team, they all got to sit in the bath and ride into battle that way. Finally, and this is what I would have loved the most, in the original Nightmare Before Christmas set, there were tokens for using Zero as a companion and Sally's arm and Dr. Finkelstein's assistant Igor as minions. Including miniatures to replace those tokens in this expansion would have been the icing on the perfect Christmas cake. But, you know, I appreciate this is a small expansion. Add in too much and it becomes a standalone game in its own right. Furthermore, although it's very likely that anyone buying Locke, Shock and Barrel also has the Nightmare Before Christmas set, I suppose you can't really make that assumption for a game where the idea is to mix and match characters from various IPs as much as possible. So, for what it is, I think this is good, and I love having Boogie's boys to add to my team, even though I suspect they will spend most of their time as companions rather than as a character in their own right. But I think that will do it for now. I'm pretty sure there's a tin of Quality Streets and a glass of wine around here somewhere. What day is it again? Who cares? I'm making Christmas time. If you like this video, please consider pressing the like button. If you really like this video, please consider subscribing if you don't already do so, and hopefully, I'll see you all again very soon. Bye bye everyone. Bye bye.